try to be as wacky as you expect. But I don't think I'll be able to actually do it. However, I lived for many years in a place called Germantown, which is a section of Philadelphia, and this is a song that I've written for the people of Germantown. Okay. Well, a guy like William Penn is gonna have a lot of friends from different corners of the world, and he invited some to pack their ditty bags and come to where his friendly flag was unfurled. So some German linen ears, German people who make linen, hackled out their flaxen fears and broke with their European crowns. These fearless Jacks and Jills climbed an even fairer hill and adapted and adopted to their new hometown, and they called it Germantown. A decision I think is quite absurd, because Germantown is not a German word. They should have called it Deutscheburg if they wanted to say that. But Germantown, Germanopolitan, is Latin, a word euonym that fits like a glove. Germantown is Latin for Philadelphia, and that's Greek to me. But I feel brotherly lovely, I feel sisterly fine. Woo! That's your part. I feel brotherly lovely, I feel sisterly fine. I feel siblingly rival-free, and Germantown is on my mind. I feel brotherly lovely, and Germantown is where I've lived, though my love may not seem overly bubbly. Brotherly lovely, overly bubbly. See the slight rhyme, very clever. My love may not seem overly bubbly, and by this I make a reference to the graffiti writers of Germantown, as well as the Quakers there. Though my love may not seem overly bubbly, I've got a lot of love to give. Where a neighbor is a neighbor and a friend is a friend, black and white are grounded in a gourmet blend. There's an avenue runs through it that goes to the very end. Germantown is my kind of town, and I feel brotherly lovely. Get ready. I feel sisterly fine. I feel siblingly rival-free, and Germantown is on my mind. I feel brotherly lovely, and Germantown is where I've lived, though my love may not seem overly bubbly. I've got a lot of love to give, and Germantown is where I live. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, wiggle your nose. Nice thing about wiggling your nose is the people behind you can't see whether you're doing it or not. It's sort of free. If you're happy and you know it, wiggle your nose. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, wiggle your nose. If you're happy and you know it, blink your eyes. If you're happy and you know it, blink your eyes. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, blink your eyes. If you're happy and you know it, move your eyebrows up and down. If you're happy and you know it, move your eyebrows up. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, move your eyebrows up. Let's put it all together. If you're happy and you know it, do a face dance. If you're happy and you know it, do a face dance. Happy and you know it and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, do a face dance. If you're happy and you know it, clap one hand. It's for the Zen Buddhists in the audience. The sound of one hand clapping. If you're happy and you know it, clap one hand. Good solutions, you guys. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, clap one hand. If you're happy and you know it, clap two hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap two hands. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, clap two hands. If you're happy and you know it, just sit there. Excellent. Well, you don't have to call me Mr. Fox. You don't have to call me Brother Fox. You don't have to call me Brother Fox. You can just call me Fox. Well, I'm the slyest fox that ever there lived. There's one thing I love to eat more than anything else, and that's rabbit. You like rabbit? It's a little bit sweeter than snake. I'll eat rabbit baked, I'll eat rabbit boiled, I'll eat rabbit flaked, I'll eat rabbit broiled, I'll eat rabbit any way I can get it. You might say that I've got the rabbit habit. Well, there's one particular rabbit I've been trying to catch low these many years, a fellow by the name of Brer Rabbit. I'd like to tell you what happened last Easter Sunday. When I got up early and I baked a cake, you see, I knew he was coming, so I baked a cake, and I made that cake in the shape of a bunny, a little Easter bunny, little girl Easter bunny. Put a little bow between her ears, and I covered that bunny all in honey. Nice, sticky honey. I called it my honey bunny. Well, I put that honey bunny out in the middle of the road where I knew Mr. Brer Rabbit would be coming up in a minute. I lay back in the bushes, I lay low. Here he comes, hippity hoppity, hippity hoppity. He sees Miss Honey Bunny, walks over to Miss Honey Bunny. Good morning, Miss Honey Bunny. Miss Honey Bunny, she don't say nothing. Me, I lay low. I said to you, good morning, Miss Honey Bunny. Miss Honey Bunny, she don't say nothing. And me, I lay low. Did you ever say hello to someone who didn't say hello back? Perhaps you felt a little bit insulted. That's how Brer Rabbit is. What's the matter, Miss Honey Bunny? Are you stuck up? Miss Honey Bunny, she don't say nothing. And me, I lay low. Well, Mr. Brer Rabbit figures he's going to teach Miss Honey Bunny a lesson. So he rears his paw behind his head, going to whoop her up alongside the head like no boy should do to no girl ever, and sticks in the honey. Let me go. Let me go. Miss Honey Bunny, she don't say nothing. Me, I lay low. Mr. Brer Rabbit has another hind paw, another forepaw. He's going to try this one out. Let me go. Let me go. And Miss Honey Bunny, she don't say nothing. Me, I lay low. Mr. Brer Rabbit has some hind paws. He's going to try one of these and let me go. Let me go. Miss Honey Bunny, she don't say nothing. Me, I lay low. Mr. Brer Rabbit has another hind paw. He's going to try this one out and let me go. Let me go. And Miss Honey Bunny, she don't say nothing. Me, I lay low. Mr. Brer Rabbit has only one thing left, and that is his head. He has not been using his head to any great advantage this morning. He rears his head back on a butter head with his and let me go. Let me go. Miss Honey Bunny, she don't say nothing. Me, I lay low. I come out from behind the bushes. I walk over to Brer Rabbit and I say, good morning, Brer Rabbit. Brer Rabbit don't say nothing. I said to you, good morning, Brer Rabbit. Brer Rabbit don't say nothing. I said, what's the matter, Brer Rabbit? Are you stuck up? Looks to me like y'all stuck up on Miss Honey Bunny. I get that rabbit, I peel him up and say, oh rabbit, I finally got you. Now how shall I kill you? Perhaps I shall throw you in that pond to drown you. Brer Rabbit goes, well, shoot. I say, what do you mean with shoot? You can throw me in the pond, Brer Fox, but I thought for sure you were going to throw me in them sticker bushes. Maybe I won't drown you. Maybe what I'll do is boil you in oil. Brer Rabbit goes, well, shoot. I said, what do you mean with shoot? You can boil me in oil, Brer Fox. I thought for sure you're going to throw me in them sticker. Maybe I won't boil you in oil. Maybe what I'll do is roast you alive. Brer Rabbit goes, well, shoot. I said, what do you mean with shoot? You can roast me alive, Brer Fox. I thought for sure you're going to throw me in them sticker bushes. Maybe it won't roast you alive. Maybe what I'll do is take a dull butter knife and skin you alive. Brer Rabbit goes, well, shoot. I said, what do you mean, with shoot? You can skin me alive, Brer Fox. I thought for sure you're going to throw me in them sticker bushes. Well, I got to thinking, maybe this rabbit wasn't as tender as I thought he was. If I threw him into them sticker bushes, I'd kind of tenderize him. So I whipped him around my head, threw him into them sticker bushes, walked over to see my tenderized rabbit. Looked in, couldn't see no rabbit. Looked in as close as I could without cutting my nose sticker bush when I realized there wasn't no rabbit in them sticker bushes. All of a sudden I hear, whoo-hoo! I look up on the other side of them sticker bushes. It's that wily rabbit. He's doing a dance and he's mocking me. Oh, Brer Fox, I love sticker bushes. I was born and bred in the sticker bushes. April Fool! Well, I'm going to catch that rabbit one of these days. When I do, I'm going to cook it. Maybe I'll invite you over to dinner. You like rabbit? It's a little bit sweeter than snake. All right. I'd like to try a new story out for you this morning. I've never told this story before, and so it won't be at the same speed as Tim Lowry's work has been, but I hope you enjoy my mistakes. Once in the land of Brittany, there was a woman named Barbaic Voorhees. She was a rich woman who ran a farm with the help of her niece Tiffany. The only problem was she began to enjoy having money for its own sake, and she only spent as much as was absolutely necessary for herself and for Tiffany. She loved money, and she hated poor people. And so you can imagine her anger when she saw her niece, Tiffany, talking to Dennis, who was just a poor day laborer from the town of Plover. She pulled her niece aside and said, "Don't you feel ashamed of yourself, talking to a man who is as poor as a rat, when there are several men in this village who would give you rings of silver if you would only let them?" "Well, Dennis is a good workman, as you well know, and he's..." Did I just hear a bell ringing? There was a bell ringing. How bad? What is that bell? I don't know what that bell is. Let's interview the people and find out whose bell that was. No. Don't you think it would be better to go on with the story? Well, I suppose it would be. As long as they've learned their lesson. Money and poor people. Do you have ADHD? Never mind. As I was saying, Dennis is poor. Yes, but he's a good workman. And he's saving money. He'll soon have a farm himself. Nonsense! He'll never save enough money until he's 100. I would much rather you be in your grave than to be married with a man who can carry his entire fortune on his back. What does fortune matter when one is young and strong? What does fortune matter? Can I believe my ears? Do you really have such disdain for money? Well, do you? Well, do you? What does money matter? What does money matter? Well, if that's the kind of thing that Dennis fills your head with, I forbid you to speak to him, and I will have him turned out of the farm if he ever appears here again. Now take this linen and go down to the river and have it cleaned and dried out on the stones. She took the bag of linen and went down, thinking to herself, "Oh, my aunt is as mean as these stones. At least the rain can wash them away after many centuries, but nothing can affect her." And she put her linen down on the rock, and she heard the tap of a stick. And she looked up and she saw a woman who was a strange face to her. She didn't recognize her at all. "Oh," said Tiffany, moving the stuff, "would you like to sit down, Granny? Rest yourself?" "When one's roof is the sky, one may rest where one will." And she sat down. "Oh, Granny, here, take this." Brought out a small loaf and some bacon. And some trucks were passing. "You have ADHD like your aunt?" "Take this food." "Those who are kind to others people should be kind to them as themselves." "Do you have trouble with your memory, Granny?" "Never mind." "I can see that your eyes are still red from crying because that miser Barbaic will not let you see the young man from Plover." Tiffany was amazed that the woman knew so much about her. "I will help you. Take this long copper pin. Whenever you put it in your dress, Barbaic Voorhees, your aunt, will be obliged to go out and count her cabbages." So she took it, and when you put it back in the box, she will return. So she took it again and thanked the woman, and with a wave, the woman vanished completely. She thought she was in a dream, but there was the pin, so it must not have been a dream. It must be real, although she couldn't imagine how the woman knew so much about her. She realized that this woman was not a simple beggar woman, but was a fairy who had magic and wisdom to know what was to come. Then she saw the linen that had to be done, and went right to work, washing the linen with a joyful heart. The next night, when it was about time for Dennis to come and visit, she took the pin out of the box, put it into her dress, and as soon as the pin was in her dress, her aunt decided that she should go out and count her cabbages. So across the field she went to the cabbage patch and began to count. 1, 2, 3. Meanwhile, Tiffany, with a heart as light as her footsteps, went out to meet Dennis. And so it was, night after night, that it continued. But after a while, Tiffany noticed something, and the something made her very sad. At first, Dennis's hours seemed to him to pass as quickly as they did for Tiffany. But after a while, after he had taught her all the songs that he knew, and described how he was going to be a great man, he soon began to be tired, because he was a fellow who liked to talk himself, but did not necessarily like to listen to other people. And after a while, Tiffany realized that his interest in her was waning. And one night, he didn't even come at all, and explained the next night that he had been called off on some business in town. And so it was that Tiffany was very sad as she took the water jug down to the spring to fill it, thinking that he has grown tired of me. I don't know what I should do. And sure enough, there was the woman with the stick.
So, my young lady does not look as happy as she was, even though she can see her lover whenever she wishes.
Oh, Granny, he's grown tired of me, and he makes excuses when he doesn't see me. It is not enough to be able to see him. I must be able to amuse him and to keep him with me. He is so clever, you know. Help me to be clever, too.
Is that what you want?
Yes.
Very well. Take this feather. When you put it in your hair, you will become as wise as Solomon himself.
And so it was. She took the feather and went home. And the next night, she put the pin in her dress, and off Barbet went to count the cabbages. And when she heard the whistling of Dennis, she put the feather in her cap and went out to see Dennis. He was dumbfounded by this new woman. Could this possibly be the very shy girl that loved to listen to all the things that he had to tell her? Or was it someone else? Perhaps she had gone suddenly mad and had an evil spirit inside of her. But night after night, he came, and so they talked, and he was amazed. She not only knew all the songs of Brittany, but she could compose them on herself. After a while, the neighbors began to talk about her because she couldn't resist the pleasure of putting the feather in her hair whenever she met one of those who always despised her for her poor clothing, and many were the jokes she told about him, or her, depending on who it was, despising her for her clothing, both his and hers. And many were the jokes, and so they began to whisper among themselves because they heard about the jests.
She is as ill-natured as a cat. Poor, beware the man who marries her, for they will soon see that she holds the reins and drives the horse.
And after a while, Dennis began to agree with them because he was amazed at her tongue, and he always liked to be master himself. And when he realized that perhaps she was a bit smarter than he, his interest began to change, and he laughed less when she made jokes about everybody, thinking that he himself might be next. And so it was that time went on until one night he couldn't stay a moment because he said he had to go to a dance in the next village. She tried to persuade him to stay because she had waited for him for a long time, but he would have none of it. He was still to go. And she said,
"Oh, I know why you want to go. It is because Azalise of Penninrue will be there."
"Yes," said Dennis. "Azalise of Penninrue will be there." Happy to see that she was jealous. For you see, Azalise of Penninrue was the most lovely girl for miles around, and Dennis and she had known each other since they were children. "Yes, she will be there, and one would travel a far way to be with her and to see her dance." "Then go," said Tiffany, and she went into the house and slammed the door. She sat down by the fire. She took the feather out of her cap, put her head in her hands, and began to cry. And went, "Oh, it is not enough to be with him. It is not enough to be clever.
It is beauty that men want.
If you will have beauty, then you will have it, said a voice, and looking up, she saw the fairy. Take this. Take this necklace. Having trouble with it? Never mind. Take this necklace. And when you put it around your neck, you will be the most beautiful girl for miles around. And so she took the necklace and attached the clasp and went in and looked at herself in the mirror. She was amazed at what she saw. Now she had nothing to fear from Azalisa or any other woman, because she was the loveliest girl for miles around. And when she saw her face, she got an idea. And putting on her best dress and her buckled shoes, she went out to go to the dance. As she was going down this narrow road to the next village, she saw that there was a magnificent carriage in front of her, and in the carriage was a young man seated. When the young man saw this beautiful girl coming down the road, he said, "Ah, she is the most beautiful girl in this country. She is more beautiful than anyone else. It is she who will be my bride, and no one else." So the rich young man got out of the carriage and moved towards Tephany. And Tephany said, "Go your way, my noble lord. I am just a poor peasant girl who likes to milk and to sew and to spin." "Peasant you may be, but I will make you a great lady," he said, taking her hand. But she drew the hand away. "I don't want to be a great lady. I just want to be married to Dennis." And she started to run away, but the attendants of the great man took Tephany, threw her into the carriage, closed the door, and the horses went into a gallop. After a while, they came to a magnificent castle. She would not move from the carriage, and so she had to be taken out by the attendants and brought into the great hall, and a priest was called to perform the marriage ceremony. The noblemen tried to make her smile by telling her all of the wonderful things she would have as his bride, but she would have none of it, and she looked around for a way to escape. And then she thought, aha, she took the pin, placed it in her dress, and the nobleman and all of his attendants went looking for cabbages to count. Then she put her feather in her hair, looked around and saw a secret door. Out she went and ran down the road. She found herself in a deep, dark wood and walked and walked and walked, till finally she heard a dog barking and saw a light. She walked up to a magnificent farmhouse. In front of the farmhouse was a woman and some young people standing around. When she asked the woman if she could stay and have a bed, the woman, the mother of the house, was about to let her in when two of the young men began to fight over her, saying which one would give her the most, which one would deserve her love the most. And soon their conversation turned to blows, and the women in the crowd began to pelt Tephany with insulting names. Tephany was so upset by this, she ran down the road, not knowing where she was going, but soon she heard footsteps coming behind her of the young men who were chasing her. Her knees were weak, she was so afraid, and then she bethought of the necklace. She undid the clasp and threw it around the neck of a pig and kept running on. Soon the footsteps behind her stopped, for they were starting running after the pig. And she found herself alone, walked and walked and walked, and finally came to the place where she lived with her aunt. For the next several days, she was so tired and distracted, it was very difficult to do any work at all. And so it was, one day as she was taking the water jug down to the spring, she was whispering to herself, "How could I have been so foolish? It is not the freedom to see Dennis that I should have asked for, because he was soon tired of me. It was not wisdom that I should have asked for he was afraid of it. And beauty, it only brought me trouble. It is riches I should have asked for, riches that make people's lives easier for themselves and others." And so there was the woman again. "Is it riches you really want?"
"Yes, it is riches I want."
"Very well. When you go home, you will find in your right-hand pocket a box. In that small box will be some precious ointment. Why am I holding this water jug?" Is that wacky enough for you? In that box, in your right-hand pocket, there will be some precious ointment. Apply it to your eyes, and you will see that you have a value of yourself within. And so she hurried home with her water. Well, she filled it first, and then she hurried home with her water jug, and she put it down. Oh, that was a heavy water jug. So heavy that it appeared in other people's hands at the same time. And she went to a mirror, and she sure enough found in the right-hand pocket the ointment. And just as she was applying the ointment to her eyes, in came Barbet from the fields. So, this is what you do when I am out working in the fields. No wonder the fields are ruined. I can't get a helper to work with me since we shot Dennis down the road. We didn't actually shoot him. We got shut of him. It's an Americanism, meaning he went away. So I haven't had anybody to help me. And here you are, looking in the mirror. Oh, aren't you ashamed of yourself? And Tiffany tried to come up with some excuse, but all she got in return was a slap across the face. Tiffany, bewildered, she began to cry. She turned away, and as she cried, she noticed something very strange, that each tear became a small and perfectly round pearl. The pearls fell to the floor. When Barbet saw this wonder, she fell to her knees and began to collect the pearls. Just then the door opened, and in came Dennis, who saw the situation and said, "Pearls? Are they really pearls?" And he too fell to his knees, looked up, and saw Tiffany having even larger pearls coming down her face. "Cry on, my dear, cry on," said Barbet. "It is for your good as well as ours. Cry on. Dennis, make sure that no one else hears of this. You will have your share, but we must not let any neighbors find out about this." And she took out her apron and began to collect them, and Dennis took out his hat. And poor Tiffany was so offended by the sight that she saw. With all her might, she held back her tears and wiped her eyes. But her aunt said, "Oh, try to cry a little more. Try, my dear. Dennis, do you think it would do any good to beat her a little?" "No," said Dennis. "That's enough for now." And so Dennis said, "I will take these pearls to the village to see how much each one is worth." "Oh, well, I will go with you," said Barbet, who trusted no one and did not want to be cheated out of her share. And so the two of them went off to the village, leaving poor Tiffany alone, sitting there in the chair with her hands together as though she was trying to force something back. And then she looked up, and there in the corner was the old woman leaning on her stick. And Tiffany said, "Oh, here." And she took the box and the pin and the feather. "These are yours. Take them. Let me never see them again. They only caused me trouble. I don't want to be anything but what I am. Others may be rich, or beautiful, or wise, but all I want to be is the simple peasant girl that I have always been, working hard for those she loves." Tiffany never saw the old woman again, and in time she married Dennis, who became a very good husband and always did his share of the work and grew in love for Tiffany and never caused her to cry ever again. That's the new one.